Hello, hello. So we're about 2 minutes until we officially start. And I'm just gonna watch the chat. I've put the recipe over in the YouTube, and I'm going to tell you what the recipe is, and this live will be saved. You can come back and listen to it. So today we're going to do 10 cups of crushed strawberries, 14 cups of sugar, and you know here it's always Dixie Crystal sugar, half cup of lemon juice, and 12 tablespoons of pectin. Now we do make no pectin jams, but for a beginner class, because we are not going to have time to really go over the plate test and all the things, I think it's important that you guys learn to use pectin first. And it's good, it's fine. Pectin is a naturally derived thing, usually from apple peels, sometimes from lemon. So it's not a chemical or anything like that. So let's get started. It's 1 minute till. I'm just gonna be crushing berries until time to go. And then we'll measure this out. And I can see the YouTube chat, but I cannot see the Instagram chat. If you have questions on Instagram, in the lower right-hand corner where you put comments, there is a bubble with a question mark inside it, and you will need to hit that bubble and submit your question there. Is the only way that I will be able to come back and find those questions easily. The Instagram comments will delete when the live goes away. Mark's looking to see if you guys are showing up. So I'm just crushing the berries. This is my most used kitchen tool. This is just a Pampered Chef mix and chop. My cousin sells Pampered Chef, so every year I order another one. I have several, but I use it for everything from crushing these berries to making chili to refried beans, soups, anything where I'm gonna need to be chopping things up. This is my favorite tool to do that with. Now remember, when you're making strawberry jam, or really any berry jam, you're measuring crushed berries. So, you know, a cupful of whole berries is only gonna be 4 or 5, but a cupful of mashed berries, it's gonna be quite a bit more. So you want to get these mashed up as well as you can. You can use a potato masher. You can chop them up, break them up however you like. You just want to get them completely broken up.
That's about one of the prettiest things I've ever seen.
Mark says this is one of the prettiest he's seen.
Might have some of that, and a couple slices of banana.
Homemade biscuits. That's what I'm feeling right now, guys, is homemade biscuits. Let me flip on, I could probably flip on the light and make it make it look better for you guys.
And see, I would be tempted to leave it like that.
Well, you don't want to do that because you won't have a proper measure of your berries to your sugar, even though it would look pretty. You have to get these berries chopped up. And these were frozen, and some were probably from last year, some from this year, because strawberry season's about gone here. We're at the end of it. So you can use frozen berries, you can use fresh berries. However you do it, you take the caps. Obviously you're not going to can the green caps or the white part that's on the top. Save those caps and the white part. You can make vinegar. That'll be another time though. We'll talk about fermentation.
In the freezer for the birds.
Yeah, you can put them in the freezer. For the birds, your chickens.
Have a good summer snack.
They do. Any of our tomatoes that aren't pretty, if they have any defect, We freeze them and feed them to the chickens over the summer. It's a really good treat for them. Hi, Elena. I see you saying hi from Texas. Let's see here. I see I have a question submitted in the question box here on Instagram. 3 p.m. Pacific time. You haven't missed anything. I'm just crushing berries. So it's just now 6:02, and I knew this would take a few minutes to accomplish. So we came live just a minute early to start this process while we wait on people to gather up and be present. And don't forget, if you were in the first 25 who went to our website and registered for this workshop, Superb is going to mail you a pack of Superb canning lids. Hold on, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Yep. And the way, there the lids are. The way you know that they're Superb is because they have a blue instead of the brownish red ring. Superb is the only canning lid that we have used in recent years because, unfortunately, Ball and Kerr and Golden Harvest were all acquired by Newell. And after that, their lids began to fail at astronomical rates, despite being very experienced canners. So we switched over to Superb, and Superb is made in America. It's actually made in Ohio. We know the owner of the company. His name's John. He is a pastor of a church. He grew up Amish, and his canning lid factory is right in the heart of Amish country in the Berlin and Millersburg area. I think his factory is like officially in Millersburg, but those towns kind of run together. So it's, you say one, you mean both.
Does it need to be taste tested at this point for any reason?
You can taste test it if you would like. He loves strawberries, guys.
Just a check.
He loves
It's
strawberries.
a quality check.
Oh.
That one right there, I've been watching it.
Is it good? Mm-hmm. You can't beat fresh berries or fresh watermelon. So I'm gonna break up. You can see I still have quite a bit of large chunks of strawberries.
And you wouldn't leave those again because
You want to get a proper measure of the cups of crushed berries. So I'm stirring it, searching out the ones that are too large, and trying to break those up. This will be saved for replay, so don't worry. You will be able to come back and watch this again.
I thought chickens couldn't eat nightshades.
Strawberries? Chickens eat strawberries all the time. Chickens can't. You're talking about the tomatoes where I said that? We don't feed them the plants. They can't eat the green leaves or the stems, but they can eat the fruit. Chickens love tomatoes. And they love peppers too.
Or strawberries nightshades?
No, but I had said that about tomato.
Oh, yeah.
She was talking about the
Well, they
tomato.
love a good ripe tomato.
They love,
Pick it to death.
yeah. So yeah, don't ever feed the plant to your chickens. But you can absolutely feed the fruit of the tomato or the pepper.
And we freeze those that aren't that pretty.
Oh yeah.
You give it to them in the heat of the summer in the middle of the day. Oh my goodness.
Yes. So I don't know if you can see this. I think you can on Instagram. But over here, we have our canner going and our lids, not our lids, our rings and our jars are down in the canner. We washed them on a sanitized cycle in the dishwasher. And then we rinsed them and then we put them in the canner that is full of water to boil. I'm going to tell you guys the secret. This is not how we typically make jam. We typically pull our jars out of a 250-degree oven, and we have our lids at the simmer, and then we can our jam. But because y'all are beginners, we want you all to do it the officially correct way. I think
It's
I'm
good.
sure.
It comes out good.
But in case you're here and you're like, I thought you said you didn't water bath. Well, we're teaching you the right way, not our way. Too much liability. Too much liability if we start teaching you guys to be rebels. Okay. I've about got this mushed. Okay. You just lost 3 quart jars of bone broth to ball lids. This is what somebody's saying over here on YouTube. My grandmother would be so disappointed because Ball was the brand.
I like this one. I can handle that one. I can pull the jars out of the water without spilling it down their arm.
We use a jar lifter to pull
Yeah.
it. And they're laid on their side, and we're careful. Let me show you the right way to use a jar lifter. This is a jar lifter. I've seen a lot of people use them this way. This is the incorrect way. The handle is up here. This is the part, the green part here, that lifts the jar. So you just grab it with the jar lifter, turn it like that, and it'll run out into the canner and not on your arm. Now we're going to show you in a water bath canner. You can also steam can jelly, but we figure that most people don't have a steam canner and aren't familiar with it, so we're going to go with the old-fashioned water bath to show you. Okay, I think we're good to go. I need 10 cups. So this may make a bigger batch, and we will make our second batch off live. We won't make 2 batches on live. That would take forever. Okay, now I'm gonna lift this, and you're gonna slide, or you wanna lift this and I'll slide the kettle over? All right, sir.
Is that what you want?
Yes, please.
Oh, it smells good.
So now we're going to measure out 10 cups of strawberry, and we're gonna make them correct cups. And when you get into, you know, getting your berries and your sugar, you want to do the correct amount of cups. When you have too much fruit or too much sugar, you don't end up with a set jam. It will impact the setting, and you could end up with syrup or a thick gel. Here's 2. 3. 4. 5. And I may mash them some more once I get them in here, because I see some large chunks. 6. 7. 8. 9. All right. 10 proper cups of crushed strawberries. Now I've got my masher back, and I just want to double down, make sure that I have everything mashed the way it should be. There we have it. Next up, I'm going to go in and add our sugar, our pectin, which I've already measured out. It's 12 tablespoons. Now, another day, another time, or if you want to learn to make it without, you can join the Compound Club, and we do talk about and teach that there. To make it without pectin, it's a longer cook, and it's, in my opinion, not as beginner friendly, because you have to learn about the plate test and all those things. Okay, so I've stirred in the pectin. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and add my lemon juice.
How much was that?
That's a ½ cup of lemon juice. Now, here's another thing. You really want to use store-bought lemon juice when you're doing this, because you need to know that acidity is at 5%. Okay. Next up, we're going to turn the heat on, and then we're going to start adding the sugar. After it comes to a simmer. And again, this is going to be a really small batch. I think it's going to make about 8 or 9 quarts. Not quarts. I'm so used to canning green beans, I'm talking about quarts. Pints. If you're using half pints, then you double that. So it would make about 14 to 16 half pints. Does anybody have any questions? I see one popped up here in the question box on Instagram. Would an immersion blender make a difference in consistency? I've never done it that way, Tiffany. I feel like that would make it too mushy, and I feel like it would incorporate too much air, and you would have a lot of foam and waste. I personally probably wouldn't do that, but I mean, there's no rule against it if that's what you want to try. Do I have a preference on pectin brands? Well, if you weren't here earlier, I normally don't use pectin, but I am for you guys because you're beginners and I want you to have a for sure set jam. Pomona's is good. I mean, Ball makes a pectin. There's another pectin brand I can't think of. It's Mrs. Wages maybe. And there's Certo pectin. There's several. And you can get pectin powder or you can get pectin liquid. Either one would work. When you get the pectin liquid, just be sure that you at least cast a glance at what the instructions on the pectin say to make sure that your recipe matches up mostly to what that recipe will tell you. Let me see here. Get it. Now here's another thing. I'm going to start adding the sugar after this comes to a simmer, and I'm not going to stir my jam. I'm going to leave this in here, and the only thing that you're going to see me do is I'm going to take this and very gently go around like this just to make sure that my jam is not scorching to the bottom of my kettle. You don't want burnt jam. It doesn't taste good, I promise. And if you do that, everybody does it at some point, so don't panic. It'll be okay. But if you over stir jam, you can break the pectin strands and it won't set. You'll just have syrup, which is good. If you end up with just syrup, that's fine too.
It has its uses.
It has its uses. It's great over vanilla ice cream. It's good over angel food cake. So
Milkshake.
you know, and if you really just needed jam and your jam were to fail to set, you could rebatch it, add more pectin.
Probably can't mess up the taste in this.
No,
it's
you
the
can't.
setting, the firmness,
Right.
the end product. The taste is going to be good. Don't just ditch it.
Right.
You can use it for something.
Even if it just comes out to be a syrup, it's still good. Don't panic. You didn't waste your strawberries.
I ate every bit of the syrup of a batch we had one time. And over a winter and a spring, it was fabulous.
Here's another thing. We don't make jam or jelly when it's raining outside. One time I got sassy and decided I would do it anyway, and I ended up with jam that didn't set.
You just pour it in, or you going to?
No, I'm gonna add it a little at a time.
Okay. You set it down.
No, just wait just a second until it comes to a simmer. My lovely assistant over here is starting to simmer just a tiny bit. I feel like my Instagram people have a cloudy lens. Will you grab me that cloth? Yeah. Not from the steam, probably. I just didn't clean it before we started. Sorry, guys. I'm going to get in front of you and clean you off. Okay. That looks better. I see another question has been submitted. What heat setting do I have my burner on? Well, mine is on 5 right now because I'm just bringing it to the simmer. I cook on gas. Yours may be different. And I will end up having to turn mine down.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're almost to the simmer. I'm gonna start adding the sugar. And I've already pre-measured my sugar, so that's the reason you don't see me getting my cup full. One thing that my husband has taught me is that I do a better job when I plan ahead and prep ahead and get everything
And stir that in.
where it's supposed to be and measured out.
Yeah.
Okay, before I start.
You haven't run off into another room one time this
I
time.
haven't. Normally,
Hold on, guys.
hold on, guys. I've got to run and get my lids. Hold on. I've got to run and get whatever.
Oh my God.
Now, I am going to stir this in, and there were a few lumps in my sugar, so I want to be sure that those break up. All right, sir. Again, that was 10 cups of crushed strawberries, half a cup of lemon juice, 12 tablespoons of pectin, and now I'm adding 14 cups of sugar.
14 cups of sugar.
Just remember, use it sparingly. It is a lot of sugar. You can get, now for anybody out there who may be diabetic, because my parents are, and I have a niece that's a type 1. You can get pectin, you can get pectin that's meant for lower sugar or no sugar. And that would be a great option. And with that pectin, we don't use artificial sweeteners, but you could absolutely use an artificial sweetener if that's what you so desired to do.
You do you.
Yep, you do you. Whatever floats your boat. Your kitchen, your rules.
All those strawberries. It's going to turn out good either way.
Yeah. Now, sir. There we go. Now I'm going to dump the rest of my sugar in. And now, I'm going to stir this in. And I'm going to bring it to a boil that I cannot stir down. And I've also got a tool over here to skim the foam, because foam does occasionally form. Okay, I've got my sugar stirred in. Now I'm gonna leave my mixing chop right here in the center. And from here out, what you're gonna see me do is just make sure that nothing is sticking. Just like this. I'm just gonna go systematically over the bottom, just so my jam doesn't burn to the bottom of my pan. Are you about to do another quality check, sir?
Maybe. I bet if you rush this step, all that sugar, it would burn easy.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
So I'm over setting 2 on my largest gas eye.
This is a quality test. Uninspected.
That's a spoonful of diabetes right there.
Unannounced inspection. Oh my God.
It tastes like Mama's.
It's like strawberries with sugar. I mean, let's just be honest.
I had a little cream.
Oh my God.
Now let me tell you guys a trick, okay? Instagram saying we have no sound. If you also have no sound, can you let me know? You lost all audio, lost sound. Okay. I'll go off, save this, and come back. Okay. We got to get back on live on Instagram. I see that, Tiff. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm back live on Instagram now, too. This is why we're doing it both places, and this is also why from now on this will only happen here, because on YouTube, because YouTube rarely ever has an issue with sound. So hopefully we don't have any further issues with sound on Instagram. If we do, you can pop over to the YouTube. Remember to go to youtube.com/@ the Appalachian Homestead. Okay.
To the YouTube.
To the YouTube.
Yeah.
In case you don't know what we're rednecks and country. Okay, I was about to tell you guys a trick that you can do, because this is going to have some foam. You can add just a nib of butter. We don't can butter. Adding more than a teaspoon is not recommended. And it's safe in that amount in this. And it's actually, I think, even the who is it? Not the ag office, the USDA, I guess. Even the USDA websites will tell you it's okay to put just a nib of butter in to cut any foam. So I'm on setting 3 on my gas stove. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm on my largest eye. And remember, I'm not going to go quickly doing this because I'm not trying to actually stir. I'm just making sure nothing sticks to the bottom of my kettle. And I'm going to bring this to a rolling boil that I cannot stir down. And when I get it to the rolling boil that I cannot stir down, I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute and leave it at that boil for that amount, for the 1 minute. Okay. All right, we've done it. Remember, don't stir your jam, guys. All right. Now remember, if you have questions and you're on Instagram, where the comment section is, there's a bubble with a question mark in it. That's where to submit them. If you have questions on YouTube, I can see it over on our, because we have a monitor that we can see comments on. Let me address some of those while we wait for this to come to the boil. Do I ever use juiced lemons or only the bottled lemon juice? I only use the bottled lemon juice when I'm making jam because you know the acidity is where it's supposed to be. The unofficial answer to that question is my grandma used fresh squeezed. Lisa Murphy asked, can you use less sugar? And that's what I was telling you, that you can get a pectin that is for low or no sugar, and that would be suitable.
So it's important to match the pectin with the right amount of sugar.
Right, it's important. The pectin won't set.
You couldn't just use less sugar with that pectin we used.
Right. Your pectin determines how much sugar you need to add. Now, if you're going to use honey, I would advise using the pectin that says it's for low or no sugar, just because every honey is a little bit different, has a different sugar content depending on who you buy it from, and if they looked at it through the, what's that thing called, a hygrometer or something like that. So yeah, you could use honey, but if you do, I would use the low to no sugar pectin if I were you all. And I've never used honey for a long cook, no pectin jam. I've only ever used real sugar. Also, because we're talking about honey, why do I not use honey? Well, the number one reason is because it's a waste of raw honey. When you heat honey over 90 degrees, raw honey, then you're killing everything good that's about it, and you've paid premium price for raw honey, but you're not getting the benefit of the raw honey. So the same thing when you're adding it to teas or anything else you're going to add it to, don't add it if it's more than 90 degrees. Wait for it to cool down to 90. The other reason I don't use honey, and I understand a lot of people probably don't maybe agree, but science says this, okay? Your body doesn't know the difference. It sees a simple glucose molecule, and it treats it like a simple glucose molecule. Whether that glucose molecule is from white sugar, brown sugar, molasses, honey, maple syrup, any other tree syrup, even, God forbid, Karo, it's still just a simple glucose molecule. But it's your kitchen and your rules. And if you want to heat your raw honey over 90 degrees and kill the good things that are in it, by all means, go for it. But just, I want you to be aware of that.
You think honey would change the taste any?
I think it would taste honey-like strawberries and honey.
Strawberries and honey doesn't sound too bad, but I've never had that.
Right, because we're Dixie Crystal aholics. But some people do use honey. I don't. And that's why. Let me get back down here. The low or no sugar, the low or no sugar pectin is okay with honey, for sure. And probably would be okay with maple syrup as well, because it doesn't require a set amount of sugar. You could use no sugar at all and just make gelled strawberries, which some people do and love.
Sure. My parents would probably like it.
Yeah,
that
your
way.
parents
Or
would
lower
love it.
Sugar some way. But, you know, you had me at 14 cups of sugar.
14 cups of Dixie Crystals.
Yeah. I knew it was coming when you carried out that big bag.
Oh, Schofield Farm. Yeah, it is important to know the acidity. That's the reason that I use bottled. As I was telling y'all earlier, I don't ask the government what to do in my kitchen. Oh no. Will you get my other one?
Well, there's 5, so I'll just pick one.
Just pick one, thank you.
Okay.
See, I told y'all I have a million. I don't ask the government what to do in my kitchen, and if you don't want to, you absolutely don't have to. Like I said, what we're showing you today isn't necessarily what we always do.
There's a lot of ways to do things.
There's a lot of ways to do things.
And if it pleases you and you have fun doing it and you felt satisfied and it tastes good and it doesn't, you know.
You just always want to be sure that your jars are sterile, your lids are sterile, and your jam has been cooked properly.
Yeah.
How much butter would I add for foam? I
How
gotta
much
turn
is
the
a-
heat
How
up.
much is a nib?
A nib, probably about a half a teaspoon, maybe a whole teaspoon in this double batch size would be okay. I would not add any more than that. Now, we don't can dairy at all. Some people can butter. If that's your prerogative and you want to do it, go for it.
We go through it too fast to do all that.
We run through a stick of butter every meal, y'all. We would have to have the whole pantry full of just butter if we were to do butter. Some people do it. Go for it.
Just be safe and enjoy it.
Right. Be
Ain't
safe,
nobody shaming
enjoy
you or
it.
nothing.
Absolutely.
I want to know how many people out there knew what a nib was. A nib of butter.
Mark wants to know, did you know what a nib was? When I said you can add a nib of butter, did you know what I meant by that?
I bet that girl from Texas does.
She's probably like us and don't use no less than a stick in anything. Let's make sure we don't miss anything here. Remember, if you're on Instagram, you have a question, hit the bubble with the question mark in it. Okay, y'all didn't know what a nib of butter is. I'm going to show you what a nib of butter is, but I got to bring this to the bowl first.
Well, you told them about half a teaspoon, right?
Yeah.
I think they got it from there.
I've turned the heat up to 4. Now remember, you're not trying to bring this rapidly to a boil because you'll scorch it to the bottom of your kettle.
What's the difference between a nib and a smidge?
A smidge.
Is when you spread it on bread. And
Yes.
a nib's when you plop it
A
in
nib's
jam.
when you plop it in jam. Now, okay, since we're talking jam and we're waiting on this to come to a boil, you want to tell them about Mama's stovetop jam? It has no pectin, just sugar and berries. And she added cornstarch, but she didn't can it.
No. She ain't gonna waste no jars on that. She gonna put it in an old butter cup.
Yeah,
put
she-
it in the freezer.
She just made like a little tiny kettle like this, like a cup of.
Oh, you mean supper time jam?
Yeah.
I thought you meant that she put in the freezer.
No, she didn't put cornstarch in that.
Oh yeah, it was something else with butter. It was always blackberries or black raspberries, or sometimes strawberries. Mostly raspberries because that's all what grew in her yard real big.
Yeah,
black raspberry.
Mama had black raspberries running out her tail. All right, I'm gonna bring it slowly up to the boil. And
I
I'm
thought
just
you meant when
making
she
sure.
made it, put it in the little butter cups. put it
No,
in the
that was freezer jam.
Yeah.
Now, his mama-
Sometimes that's what she got out to make that stovetop jam too. Mama did what Mama had to do, and we was all happy with it.
That was probably just frozen berries that she
Might
had
be,
crushed, and then she
probably.
added
It
them.
was. It was in black raspberries. You're right, because I remember them being whole. Now that you say that.
Yeah. So for stovetop jam, not for canning, you just put in a small kettle, like a soup kettle, your berries, some sugar, and some cornstarch, and you can make some just enough for your supper that evening.
Yeah, and put some good soft butter on top of it as you serve it.
Right.
Oh my God.
But don't can it with cornstarch, y'all.
And a good pound of bread.
I'm gonna have to cook supper.
Yeah, yeah. A pound of bread.
Pound of bread. So I doubled the batch. Are you doing pints? Yes, I am, ma'am.
Yeah, we don't mess around with them little jars. That's in one sitting.
Yeah, a 1 cup jar, which is a jelly jar. It would, because you guys got to remember, we got a bunch of people we feed. You know, it's not just the two of us. Just the two of us, that would probably last 3 or 4 days.
Or 3 or 4 times we eat it. We don't eat it
Right.
every day. Some of it.
3 or 4 times of eating it. But since we have a big family, we can in pint jars. I've never made larger than a pint jar for jelly, but I've never made smaller than a quart jar for any vegetable. Unless I'm fermenting.
We put some carrots in some smaller jars.
Pint and a halves.
Yeah.
All right, it's starting to come to the bowl. But yes, we are doing pints. Let me make sure that I don't miss nothing. Remember, if you're on Instagram, hit the bubble with the question mark in it. And remember, we're not stirring our jam. We're just making sure nothing sticks to the bottom of our kettle. And you can see it's starting to foam up, and it will. And I don't skim the foam yet, because that foam will kind of separate and clump together. And then I'll skim the foam off.
Just for the record, that foam ain't too bad.
I know that foam ain't too bad. We save the
Right
foam. We save the foam, guys. We don't throw nothing
The
away.
foam ain't too bad.
The foam ain't bad. You just don't want to can it. Oh my goodness. So somebody was talking about bone broth earlier, and they were talking about their ball jar lids failing. And I've told you guys we only use Superb. But I wanted to talk to you about, while we wait on this to come to a boil, about bone broth. So at least every few days, somebody messages and they're slightly panicked because their bone broth didn't gel. So a few things. One, it could have been that you were using too small of bones. Two, it could have been that you cooked it too long or too short. And three, as long as your bones will break easily, and when I talk about breaking easily, I mean when you pick them up with your tongs and you squeeze your tongs hard, it should crumble. As long as your bones are breaking like that, don't worry about it setting, because setting does not make it somehow better. It just means that you used larger joints that had more of the collagen and connective tissue in it and seeped out more of it. It's still bone broth. It's still nutritious. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't matter if it looks like the influencer that you saw making the bone broth. It will be okay. So don't panic if your bone broth doesn't set, as long as your bones will crumble easily. And remember, don't discard your bones, because you can take those bones and crumble them and spread them out to dry and then grind them, and you now have bone meal for your garden. Something else you don't have to buy, and it's zero waste.
I thought you was going to say because your husband likes.
Yeah, he does.
nibbing on
He
a little
does
bit.
nibble on the bones, guys.
It's good.
I know, and it's good for you. Calcium. Yeah, you don't. So somebody asked, do you also not stir no pectin jam? So when I'm making no pectin jam, which is not what we're making right now.
It's getting it around the edge.
Yeah, it is getting it. Am I centered over the eye?
Not really.
Let's get it centered up here. When you're making,
You need this.
I will need it in a minute, but we can move it. Just center me up there. Okay, back to it. When you're making no pectin jam, okay, here we are at the
Yeah.
bowl.
All of a
You
sudden.
have to use a plate test. You still do exactly what I'm doing with the only, see, you can see it's starting to follow and it's starting to foam more. You still don't stir more than what you see me doing right here because you need those natural pectins to form with the sugar and the lemon juice. And you don't want to break them up or you'll have syrup. And then you do a plate test. Now, a plate test is where you have a plate in the freezer, and when it comes to a time you feel like it's not dripping off, see, this is still
Is
watery.
that why Mama always had a plate in the freezer with nothing on it?
Yeah. So you do the plate test, and you watch for it to gel on that ice cold plate. You daub a little bit on it.
You daub it. You don't smidge it or get a nib. You daub it.
Yeah, you just take a
You
spoon
daub.
and daub some on it.
Okay.
And then you tilt the plate around and you watch for gelling. And if you can take your finger and run through it and it stays separated, it's time to put it in a jar. But again, that's something, we do teach that inside the compound club, but we teach things in private that we cannot teach in public because of the powers that be.
Yeah, it's clumping up.
Yeah, see, I told you the foam would start clumping together more. I'm just gonna go once. See how slow I'm going around?
There is a bad part about this step right here.
What is the bad part?
It's too hot for a quality taste.
Oh. Well, you can taste the foam once I skim the foam
I
off.
like that on
Now remember, I gotta get it to a boil that I cannot stir down. That's the one time you're gonna see me stir, is I'm gonna try to stir it down. If I can't, I will turn the heat off. Now, in our other way that we do jam, you don't turn the heat off, you ladle at the boil. That's for another day. Today, we will turn the heat off. And we're gonna follow all the rules that the government says that we have to follow in order to teach this in public.
And I want to hear back from people who make it.
Yeah, if you make it, we want to hear back from you. If you learn something new, we want to hear back from you. Be sure to share, tag your friends. We're going to teach a couple more canning workshops, you know. One of them is actually going to be a open fire canning workshop. And we're going to teach open fire canning in person in Ohio at the superb Food Independence Summit, June 20th to 22nd
Something like that.
in Millersburg, Ohio. Here we are. We're coming to the bowl, y'all.
Is it Wednesday and Thursday or is it included Friday?
It's Wednesday, Thursday. They don't do Friday.
21 and 22.
21 and 22. We have to travel on the 20th and travel back on the 23rd. See how you can see the foam is now skimming. Or it's not skimming, it's clumping together. And I'm about to skim it in just a second. Now is when, if you want to add a nib of butter, you can.
Just get you a smidge. Measure it out to be about a nib.
And remember,
And dive it in.
when I say a nib, I mean for this 10-cup batch of crushed strawberries and 14 cups of sugar, no more than a teaspoon. Because we're not canning butter, we're canning jam.
Somebody said, I think Meg said that her kids love that foam too. I told you.
Yeah, eating the cooked foam.
Yeah. This person said they've been making jam for a long time, but sometimes it doesn't sit and maybe been stirring too much.
Yeah, so it could be that you were stirring too much. It could be that you made it on a rainy day, because as I was telling you guys earlier, we don't make jam on days when it is raining. It won't set. It makes syrup.
Why is that? The humidity? The pressure?
The pressure and the humidity, probably both. But I would say more the pressure. Do you do the same with eggshells as leftover bones? Yes, so let me come back to that one. You still worry about your gauge when using a weight. I'm not pressure canning this jam. So no, there's no gauge involved in this. You don't pressure can jam. This is a water bath canning workshop. We will do a pressure canning workshop, and in that one you will use your gauge, and it takes longer, so just mentally prepare yourself that takes longer.
Did you just mentally prepare yourself?
I'm mentally preparing myself as
For
we
that
speak.
long cannon, pressure cannon? What we pressure cannon? Green beans or something?
We'll probably do green beans or something. See, I use this to get my foam off because it lets yeah, there we go. Now the foam's clumping up closer together, making it easy. Remember, I'm trying to get it to a boil that I cannot stir down. I need it at a rolling boil for 1 whole minute. I'm gonna skim this foam over here and start taking it out. Now, it's usually right about now is when you see the foam really start to form once it starts to boil. You can see I'm putting it in a bowl. We ain't wasting this foam, guys.
No.
That'll go on a strawberry sandwich later. 0 waste on this homestead.
I noticed you did not turn the heat down when it got to this, even though you are concerned about the bottom sticking.
Right. I'm turning it down to 2.
Okay, so you do turn it down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm turning it down to 2. Okay. Now I'm going to check and see if I can stir this boil down. Now, this is where we want to be. Now we set a timer for 1 minute. Okay, see, that was my 1 stir to see if I could stir this bowl down. I'm going to turn the heat up just a shake. Now I'm going to leave it alone. I'll skim this foam off before we start ladling jam. Don't worry.
It smells like heaven.
It does smell like, it smells like Mama's. It smells just like being at Mama's house. Every time I can, guys, I get all sentimental and cry a little bit because I miss my grandparents. Are you timing it? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So he has set our timer at 1 minute, and I'm on a gas setting of 3.
On the largest burner, too.
And I am on the largest burner on my gas stove. On your electric stove, it'll cycle on and off, so yours will be different. You may have to manage it differently than what I am. We got 22 seconds left.
You got 4 seconds. That's it.
That was a full minute?
Yes.
Okay. He said, I thought the timer said still had 22 seconds. So now I've turned the heat off. And you can see it is still boiling. I'm going to scrape the foam off as much as I can.
Oh my God, look at that.
Mm-hmm. Looks good, don't it?
I see some pieces that are just perfect for jam.
You don't want to put this foam in your jars, guys. It's good, but it ain't that good. You don't want to waste jar space, and it traps air, and air could bring mold to your jam. And we'll talk about that in a minute too.
So if you get to this point, you say, I should have put a nib of butter in there. It's
You
too
could
late
put
now, right?
no, you could put a nib of butter in
Would it
now.
help the foam?
It would,
Would it?
yeah. But it'll be okay because we're no longer at the boil. We boiled it for the 1 minute we were supposed to, and you can see you can see it starting to clear over there as I'm skimming this over. So I'm just bringing all the foam that I can over without actually, remember, I'm still not actually stirring it. I've got a bowl full of foam over here.
You don't need a nib.
I've got too small of a bowl for a big batch of jam. Now remember, in our old-fashioned traditional way, we ladle at the rolling boil into a hot jar and top it with a hot lid. But today we're doing the government way. because I want beginners to do it the government way. And the reason is you really need to have somebody with you that has done it the other way the first time you do it the other way before you start going rebel on your own. It's not likely that a jam or a jelly is going to make your family sick. Let's talk about that for a second while I skim this the rest of the way. You can take that Mason chop out, please. So the number one fear in home canning for most people is botulism. Botulism typically comes from low acid foods, which jams and jellies are not, and we've added an acid here in addition to the natural fruit acids that are in strawberry by adding the lemon juice. So this is not likely to cause a problem. Botulism usually comes from a low acid food. Okay, you can set this over there, sir. Ouch. Okay, I'm gonna scoot you guys back just a little so you can watch us fill the jars. The other thing I want you to know is that the likelihood of you getting botulism is like slim to none. Hey, can you see what I did? One time I had that too close to my eye and I burnt my stand a little bit. Nobody who knows me is surprised by that. All right, let me get a rag and wipe this strawberry foam off of it. Okay. Now, I want to show you this. I have had the entire time that my jars were steaming and boiling, this was sitting in the canner getting steamed as well. So these lids are now sterilized.
Almost an hour.
Or not lids, but the
Rings.
rings.
They've been almost an hour.
Yeah, they've been boiling for almost an hour. Let me grab something to sit this on.
Hot jars.
My old strawberried up rag.
Hot jars.
Hot jars.
We want
Sit it right here, baby.
hot jar.
Can I have a ladle in my cannon funnel? Thank you. This is a cannon funnel. If you're gonna make jam, trust me, you want one.
And stainless cleans up so well with anything.
Oh my gosh, yes. So when we put it into the jar, remember the jar is hot. It came from the boiling water canner. I'm gonna ladle it in. And I'm gonna leave 1/4 of an inch of headspace. Now, depending on what you're canning, your headspace differs just a little bit.
After you cook this, it never fails to amaze me the beautiful color. Like when you're looking in from the side. Like man could not have ever
Made that color.
made that color.
Right. That's definitely a God thing.
And it's not the color of the raw strawberries. It's oh my
Now,
gosh, it's so good.
the 1/4 inch measure for me, I use the top, what do you call the top where it screws on, Mark? What is that called?
The ring?
This part,
Oh.
the threads.
I
Now
wasn't
my
paying attention.
superb.
I was playing a puppy dogs.
I need a rag to wipe the rim with, please. All right, next up, you need a rag. You wanna wipe your jar rim. You don't wanna have anything sticky. We wet that a little bit, it has something sticky on it.
Yeah, you know.
Okay. Make sure your rag's clean. You don't want to contaminate. Okay. That's been wiped with a damp rag. Now on goes our lid. And we'll sit this over.
How tight will you get that?
I need something to hold it with, please. Thank you. The jar is hot, guys. I'm only going to get it finger tight. So,
3 fingers.
see, I use those 3 fingers. And I'm not torquing it. I'm not trying to clamp it down as tight as it's gonna go. I want this ring to come back off after I've water bathed it and it has sealed tomorrow after it's cool.
You put it right here.
Yeah, please. So now he's gonna sit this
Oh,
over
it's beautiful.
and he's gonna grab me another, and then I'll show you when we start actually water bathing it. I'm gonna move the water bather over to where the jam was so you guys can see that process.
These jars are hot.
Of course they are.
Be careful.
I will, thank you. All right.
That's such a deep, beautiful red.
It is. Now, another thing that we make sometimes, guys, is freezer jam. Freezer jam is not cooked. You only cook the pectin part of it. And it's a brighter red even.
That's what I'm going to have here in a little bit.
You gonna have freezer jam instead of the
Well,
foam?
this has to sit. Oh, I'll have the foam. Foam don't take up any room in your belly.
It don't.
It's like ices from the old Kmart. They take up no room.
Icy's from the old Kmart.
Yeah.
Tell me you was raised a redneck without telling me. Have y'all ever had a icy from the old Kmart?
You didn't have to be a redneck like icy from the old Kmart. Remember, everybody used some popcorn at the hills.
Oh my
and
gosh,
some
no
red
joke.
icy.
No joke. When I was little, that was where we got most of our stuff was Hills. Sometimes we go over to L.A. Joe's in Clintwood. Oh my goodness. All right, just 3 fingers tight, and I wasn't torquing it. Remember that, guys. And he's using those jar grabbers and just dumping that water back into,
It's hot. And I ain't got to drop on me.
right, back into the boiling water canner. Okay. Here, mother, stirring in them jars. Now, if you wanted to make a jam, you use the juice and take the seeds out. You run it through we call it a jam sieve. Not a jam sieve, I'm sorry. A jelly.
I was getting a little confused.
My brain was
And
not
jelly's more
working.
firm too, isn't it, when you eat it?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think jelly's more
Grandma's
firm.
always was. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's more like eating Jell-O that you have to try to spread out.
and they're obligatory dogs. Always.
Okay, I'm not quite full enough. So remember, you're going to a 1/4 inch. They do inch. They do make a. I got that one too full. I need a tablespoon, please. They do
That's
make
a country tablespoon.
Yeah, this is by the way, a country tablespoon. They make a green thing that you can measure with.
Wipe it.
Here you go, honey. And it'll tell you the exact. But I've done it for so long, I know that the 1/4 inch is right there at that top thread. But y'all can use your measurer. Get you a canning kit that has a magnet and a jar lifter and that.
Yeah.
It's a burper and it has a measure on it for the different head spaces you need to leave. Ooh, that's hot.
It was hot when I quality tested off that spoon too.
Was it? Was it
My,
good?
It was worth it. It was worth it. I'll just go ahead and say it.
Worth it to burn your mouth?
No, they didn't burn me. It's full of water.
Yep. You just hold it by the top, like you see him putting it over there, and tilt it back into your canner, and you will get no
No burns.
burns. And now, one thing that I will tell you is don't panic if you see like berries are floating.
It'll be fine.
If you're not a magician, you will have some jars that the berries float in. I mean, that's just life.
It'll be fine. They'll be at the top. Whoever gets the
Yeah, whoever
break the seal. Gets
whoever
the
breaks that seal gets the
prize.
good stuff.
Yeah, they get the prize. They went out to the dairy to get it. Just let them have it.
Do y'all know what a dairy is? If you know
Not
what
the
a
kind with the cows.
yeah, not a dairy barn. The dairy where you keep your canned goods. Here, that's a thing. Everybody's got a dairy.
Dug into the hillside a little bit.
Yep.
Stayed cool.
We used the dairy, but we also had the tunnel that we put our canned goods in, and the basement. There we go. Remember, I'm not doing this. I'm not torquing it hard. Now, somebody asked me about my jars. Let's talk about jars.
These are old jars.
These jars are older than me. And they're made in America. Here comes the controversy.
You almost made it an hour.
There's a popular brand that every influencer in America loves who has purchased jars from Asia to pair with Made in America Superb lids. Why is that a big deal? Well, they're made in China. And why is that a big deal? And I'm just going to ask you guys one time, do you trust China to tell you if there's lead in that glass? And even if you trusted China to tell you, even if you don't trust China to tell it, do you trust a company who is going to lose millions of dollars if they don't sell it to tell you? I mean, there's a lot of, I got questions. I won't be using jars that are not made in America. All my jars are old as the hills. If you're looking for jars, look at yard sales. Look at Goodwill. Look somewhere that isn't China.
And Superb prides himself on being American made,
Yes.
American people. So
Superb prides itself on being American made.
products, American sourced,
American steel, yes.
then all of a sudden they're on a glass from somewhere else. So
But guess what? Superb believes that they finally have found an American glass maker to make Superb branded jars.
wow,
I think there'll be more coming on that in the next week or so. Probably at the summit, I bet they'll announce something about it.
you just let out something you.
I probably should have kept my mouth shut. They know they can't trust me to be quiet.
Do they make rings?
Superb makes their own rings. Remember, Superb lids are made with Pittsburgh steel, and the rings are made from Pittsburgh
Go Steelers.
steel, and the seals, they keep a tight chain of custody on to know every part of everything that goes into their lids. I trust them.
Been to the factory.
I have. I've been to the Superb factory. And that means a lot to me to not just hear that it's made in America, but to go there and see it happen.
Mm-hmm.
American jobs, the American economy. It's a big deal. That's something that the Appalachian Homestead, us, we feel very strongly about, is that our nation's economy has got to recover. Royal King that does an off-brand jar with glass made in Arkansas. They have great for water bathing.
Maybe.
The only ones I've ever seen at Royal King are made in China. I'll just put that out there. And sometimes I have to be quiet. But I'll just say this, okay? Do your research on Arkansas Glass. They actually don't make canning jars. They make jars for other things that are not suitable for home canning. And they openly say that. If you called them and asked them, Arkansas Glass would say, please don't. That's not what they're for. Oh no. You got me a jar that won't fit the ring. This is one.
jar is that?
This is one that's not meant.
Models?
That must be. We'll have to dump this back in. See, everybody makes mistakes, guys. I should have known when you handed me a square jar.
I didn't put that one in there. That wasn't in the case I brought in.
Okay, I'll put this over.
We got plenty of jars.
You buddy. Okay, now we're back to regular jars. But just, you know, I like Arkansas Glass, but they do ask you not to can in theirs because I think something to do with the temperature, and they're not marketed or approved for that. But they are a made in America glass company for other things, for sure. Okay, we're getting a 1/4 inch head space. That one fits nicely. Okay, you grab that one, please? Thank you. How many we got left, babe?
Put this tall one. And one more like you got. You want which one you want, the tall one? Or
The tall one's fine. That's an official jelly jar, guys. That one probably did come from your mama, Mark. She always gave me. His mama would give me jam when I was growing up. So, fun fact, Mark's grandmother lived just down the road from the compound. And his family's always been a big presence in my life. His mama specifically was a good friend of our family, and really all your family has always been good friends of our family. Mark had to go to Mama's house to find a bride, didn't you, honey?
That don't sound good. Please don't put it that way, darling.
Oh, gosh.
Is it not hot?
It is, but it's not as hot as the others were. I need another jaw, please. Maybe one more after that.
Hold on.
There we go. But yeah, his grandma taught me as much as my own grandma did. They were good friends, my grandmother and his grandmother. And my mom was just absolutely crazy for his grandmother. She loved her. Our families have always been very close. Okay. That's a little much. Headspace.
How much you got left?
I may have another full jar left. Well, actually, maybe not a full jar. Maybe, let me look. A small jelly jar, if you can find it. You got one in there already?
It's one small one.
Okay. Woo.
But we need another lid or two.
I'll grab it.
And then a ring.
Woo. We are gonna have to go out of the room for a second.
Up in that corner. On the superb lid shelf.
Let me wash this really quickly.
Put it in this boiling water.
Remember to always wash your lids and rings and your jars, and have your jars in the water bath boiling, you know. And look here, I want to show you something. So you can see this jam's sitting on my Canon funnel, so you know it's going to sit in your jars. Thank you, good sir. Yes, it will.
Quit, puppy. I'll feed you later.
Uh-oh. We may have a little left, and we'll have to put it in a little...
I put it in a little bowl in the refrigerator to be eaten.
Oh, that'd be
very
terrible.
soon.
That'd be terrible, wouldn't it?
It's tragic.
It'd be terrible if we had to have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for supper. There we go. Yep. So let me show you my kettle. I have just a little bit, not enough for a whole pint. We're just gonna put this into a Pyrex dish. Sit it in the fridge. That'll be the first that we eat from this batch of jam. Let me put the lid and the ring on this other one. I need a ring. I didn't grab one. All right, next up, we'll finish emptying this into the Pyrex, and then we're gonna move the water bath over, and we're gonna show you how to water bath, and we're gonna do, for my elevation, which we are over 2,000 feet, is gonna be for 10 minutes in the water bath. Why is it important? I wash the lids with soap and water.
And then I put this one in a boiling water.
So let me tell you, the government, you can't make the government make sense, y'all. I'm teaching you the government way. This is not how we typically do it. The government says that your lids just need to be washed in soapy water. but your jars need to be boiled. Now, in our traditional way of doing it, we do the jars in the oven at 230. We have our lids in boiling water, our rings in boiling water, and we ladle our jam at the rolling boil. Okay.
Get the extra in there.
And then everything's sterile. All right, let me get the rest of this into this little Pyrex.
Somebody asked the difference between the
Red lids and the blue lids.
The red lids and the blue lids. Do they mean
Superb.
the difference between 4 jars and Superb because that has red branding? Or do you mean the difference between like Ball having that brownish red seal and Superb having the blue?
No, that was on the YouTube.
You'll have to clarify that. Okay, so this is, see how much I have left? This is just going to get a lid on it and go into the fridge, and we will use this probably tonight or tomorrow. Okay, the first one, he says, the first one. Now move the water bath canner over here,
You have
please,
to move over.
kind
Carry
sir.
all that sticky mess.
Thank you. And see, that's setting on my thing, so we know our jam's gonna set.
I still have to test it. Don't be. You're eating it with your finger. And I got the boiling water in my hand. That wasn't fair.
I gotta wash my hands with touch.
Oh. You do now?
Oh my goodness.
You do now?
Oh Lord, help us.
All right, we gotta heat
All
this
right, let me scoot you back over here where you can see the boiling water canner, guys. We got to bring it back to the rolling bowl.
up. Do we raise that? Because I don't care for that. Just leave it in the bottom. Let me use my thing.
Yeah, use your thing if that's what you want to do.
It is.
Some people pull their rack. You have to, let's go over this real quick. You must use a rack in the bottom of any canner, whether it's a pressure canner or a water bath canner or a steam canner. Your jars should not come into direct contact with the bottom of the kettle that's in direct contact with that heat source. Your jars will break. Always use a canning rack. If you lose yours or don't have one, you can take canning rings and put down on the bottom in a layer and set your jars. Can you give me a ring so I can show them how to do that? Set your jars on top of the rings. Now when you put your rings down in there, you don't put your rings like this down in there. You put your rings this way. That way there's that gap between the bottom of the canner and your jar bottoms. So you would put them down in there like this all the way around and then sit your jars on top of these. So that's a way to make a homemade canning rack if you don't know where yours is, which occasionally happens to some people, I hear. So there's that. All right, we're gonna bring this to the bowl on high. Now in our water bath canner, we want our water to be at least 1 inch over the top of our jar tops.
You want to try one? Pull it back out?
Go ahead, show 'em. If it's not enough, we'll have to put more in it. It's not,
But the others get in there, might
might be, but I think we'll have to add a little more. So I'm gonna grab my pitcher and get some hot water.
And if you're just tuning in, we're watching a pot, see if it'll boil while we watch it. So, exciting happenings on the homestead. Somebody wants to know if this is a granite ware pan. I don't know quite what that means.
Blue speck.
That's what we call it. Get that blue speck kettle.
I don't think it's granite ware, no. It's just old-fashioned blue, like camp cookware that's blue speckled, or it's, I guess it's navy and white speckled.
Is that the one we used over the fire last week?
Yep,
It isn't.
that'd be the one. Watch pot, never bulls. We better start reading comments instead of watching the pot, guys. So this is a canner, Mary. And it's...
Not a pressure canner.
Yeah, it's not a pressure canner. This is a water bath canning pot. And I don't think I've ever seen a canner that wasn't this dark color with the blue, with the white speckles. Have you?
You mean a pressure canner this
No,
kind?
no. The water bath kind. I've never seen one that wasn't this kind.
Not the proper, right. Yeah, it's always this. It's just a regular.
Now, you can water bath in your pressure
This
canner.
is the-
You just put you got to make sure you have an inch of space, so you want to do that with pints, not quarts, of boiling water over it. And then, of course, you don't put the weight on it. You don't pressure can it.
Putting that in and you wait.
I'm going to wait and see if we need it. I could plug up the thing and turn it on to get it hot.
I thought that's what you did.
No, wait, no, sir.
I thought that's why you put them in that specifically.
You give me too much credit.
So this is steam.
It'll burn you. Be careful. Here, let me have this. All right. Does anyone have any other questions? Let me see. Remember, if you're on Instagram, you have to hit the bubble with the question mark in it. I will not be able to scroll up and see all of these comments.
And did you say this is the last time you did it?
Somebody said, are you even canning if you're not barefoot? Not in this house. I'm barefoot.
Did she see your barefoot?
Yeah, she can see my bare feet. I'm always barefoot. Somebody asked what we're canning. We're making strawberry jam. You probably already figured that out. Somebody loves that we do it together. Mark is my #1 guy.
It's either this way or I come home and every dish, every spoon, every kettle, everything is out and dirty. What'd you do? I fried some eggs.
Well, let me brag on him. He doesn't just help me can. He also will be doing all the dishes.
What?
You always do all the dishes. I'm not even gonna lie. I got a good man. You like my red apron? Y'all will die when you see where it came from. Can you see? Dixie Crystals. My grandma will be so proud of me. Listen, they ain't no sugar but Dixie Crystal sugar, y'all. Anything else is illegal. Mark's mother will send you back to the store. If you show up and she says, come over and we'll make fudge, and you show up with Domino or
That's
some
probably a
store brand of
more
sugar.
reflection on my mom than anything. I mean, those other sugars will do, but they just ain't as good.
They ain't as good. It is known as the good sugar.
Yeah.
And if you show up with like a store brand sugar or anything else,
Lord.
honey, she will say, go home, we ain't making it.
I can't
Or-
make it today.
Or go back to the store, we're not making it. And they don't pay me to say that. Listen, I got this apron. I can't remember how I got the apron. But Dixie Crystal don't pay me nothing.
No.
In my biggest dreams, they might. I'd love to be a Dixie Crystal girl. Somebody had ices from the old Kmart, and they used to sell ice cream scoops at the one in Wise. I don't remember ice cream scoops at the one in Wise.
At the Kmart? Yeah, they had an ice cream scoop up there. Yeah, had about 6
They
flavors.
had the cooler,
Had a cooler, about 6 flavors.
and that's where we got Superman ice cream.
Yeah,
I do, now that you're saying that.
yeah.
You're right. Yeah, we didn't put hot jam in a cold glass.
And we also didn't set these hot jars over on the cold granite.
Yeah, oh, yeah, by the way, when we set them over onto the, what is the griddle part of our gas stove. Don't ever set a hot jar on granite. Don't set a hot jar by your coolant vent. Don't set if we're gonna set a hot jar somewhere out of the canner, it gets set onto a towel. There has to be an insulator, whether it's wood, whether it's onto a wood table or whether it's onto your granite countertops or whatever you have.
Shocking. Even good
Put
glass.
a towel under it.
Yeah, even good glass, you can't expect it to.
And she's right. You don't put jam into cold jars. That
No.
You break it and you'll have jam all over you and be burnt to pieces. Somebody said their Nana still seals with wax.
Oh yeah, Mama did.
Yes. Now the
Yeah.
government will whoop you if they see you doing that.
Mama did, and I remember the wax box that she used to buy them in. I remember.
You want to know my attitude about canning, guys? I didn't invite you to dinner, and if you don't like how I'm doing it, you don't have to. But I am showing you the government way to do it today.
This is the most official way you'll ever see here.
This is the most official that you will ever see here, and just know that when I'm doing it by myself without cameras on me, I ain't doing it this way.
But it's okay. This will turn out tasty.
It
You'll
will.
enjoy
It will be just fine, and these people will be sure that they have done it according to the rules and
And you can
regulations.
give it to the families and children,
Right.
grandchildren.
You can hand it out and be comfortable doing it, especially if you're a new canner. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss nothing.
This is the jam where you get caught at 2 o'clock in the morning standing at the refrigerator eating it by the spoonful.
Okay, speaking of Wise. Somebody was, when we were talking about Kmart Wise, that was like a staple of my childhood.
It's still called the Kmart intersection on the
It
radio.
is, yes.
When I'm on the radio.
The other staple I have is of my teen years and my adulthood. Can you guess what my staple is? Roma's
Yeah.
lasagna.
Yeah, they're gonna close. They're gonna close.
Yeah, they're done closed. Roma's in Wise. If you ever come to Wise County, Virginia, it's a little hole in the wall. Take yourself to Roma's and get the lasagna or the manicotti
Or the pizza.
or the pizza.
But get the manicotti. But get something with the breadsticks.
Absolutely. It is the best. Who did I learn to make jam from? From my great-grandma and my grandma and my mom and Mark's grandma and Mark's aunts and my aunts. Our families have always canned, so none of this is new to us. Let me go back up. I'm trying to go through the Instagram comments and see, make sure I don't miss nothing. Summer says Roma's is good.
Mm-hmm.
Summer, y'all need to come up and we'll go to dinner. Jimmy said hi.
He ain't watching this.
Jimmy's watching. You can, sir. He's probably
Oh,
shocked.
Lord. I need to go mow or something. Something manly.
Okay, 10 cups of crushed strawberries, 12 tablespoons of pectin. I used probably ball pectin.
It was. It's fine.
Half a cup of lemon juice, and 14 cups of Dixie Crystal Sugar, baby.
That was a preemptive laugh. I knew the 14
Okay.
I like a little berries with my sugar.
I like a little berries with my sugar, guys.
And we want to roll and ball.
You're making jam right now, too.
What kind?
What kind are you making? That was Pine Barren's post. If y'all aren't following her, I love her. She makes the prettiest stuff. She had an embroidered denim jacket the other day, and it had all of these wildflowers on it, and it had her logo. It was gorgeous. Are you selling those, by the way? Guys, I don't have no merch, but one day when I'm old, or maybe when I'm famous, I might. I don't know.
Is marmalade a jam? And what's
Yeah.
in marmalade?
Marmalade is usually citrus-based.
Yeah.
Well, the video we posted and saved. It will be on both Instagram and YouTube. Remember, from now on, they will only be on YouTube. I will come live and remind you to go to the YouTube on Instagram, but Instagram has a bad habit of losing audio. So we just don't like to have to break things into 2 sessions on Instagram. After a while, it's just like it says, okay, you're done. I see Steve and Heather are watching.
Steve Horn?
No,
Oh, Steve Baker?
Steve and Heather Baker.
We used to talk about the old people, Verizon people earlier.
Right. Okay.
Shaker!
I'm scrolling back. Shaker Baker and Heather need to get their butts out here. They were supposed to help us. Look, Heather, we're water bathing. Are you proud? All right, we're at the bowl. Start lifting jars.
How many do you think fit in there?
I think 9.
I don't know how many we got.
Just remember, we got to get that water to
Oh, it'll be
an inch or more over the top of these lids.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me an interesting question the other day, and let's talk about it. She messaged me and she said, "Hey, I cannot find a pressure canner that isn't aluminum. Do you not worry about it leaching into your food?" And the answer to that is no, because the food is in the jars.
Ooh, good answer.
And the jars have lids on them. So we don't worry about that. And plus, guys, can I tell y'all a secret? And I know this ain't kosher and it's not currently accepted standards, but my mama, I think every piece of cookware she had was probably aluminum.
Well, she had a lot of it. She had a lot of cast iron too.
Yeah, she had a lot of, tons of cast iron. But like a soup kettle, she probably had at
Look at
least
that.
a few
I
there.
told you to do an
See,
inch or
now
more.
we're more than an inch over the top of these. We're going to bring it to the rolling boil. Once it achieves the rolling boil, we'll pop the lid on. We'll turn the timer on for 10 minutes because we are over 2,000 feet. And if you're under 2,000 feet, if you live closer to the coast, I think you do it for less time, but you could go ahead and do it for 10 minutes and it would be just fine. You might could get by with 5 minutes if you lived at sea level. And if you live over 6,000 feet, I think you have to do 15 minutes.
In the Rockies.
Yeah. Phew. Y'all, we live at elevation. We don't live on flat land here, obviously, because we live in the Appalachian Mountains. But the Rockies are amazing.
Mm.
And they gave me elevation sickness.
Yeah. In more ways than one.
They gave me, I was sick as a dog when we were in the Rockies. We went to Breckenridge and to Durango. And where else did we go?
Colorado Springs, Pikes Peak.
Oh, yeah, we went to Pikes Peak.
Almost. Went to Pikes Peak.
If you're here and you're from Colorado, or if you've been to Colorado and you've been to the top of Pikes Peak, somebody comment, because we got to talk about this. I have questions. We went to go up Pikes Peak. And if you have never been there, if you've seen our mountain roads and you have thought to yourself, "Oh my gosh, those are dangerous looking."
At least we got trees to stop us.
At least we got trees to stop us.
You
That's
go
all
up-
I can say.
You go up so high there's no trees. It's just small or large gravel, no guardrails, and
No.
it's all switchbacks. And you look off into the distance and you're looking
All
down
you
at
see is
clouds.
sky.
You're looking down at clouds. You're looking down at jets going somewhere.
Yes. Pikes Peak is the wildest experience I have ever had. I started crying about
Yeah.
halfway up.
Yeah. We made it to 2 miles from the top to the welcome center. Had to pull off at the first wide spot.
Oh my Lord Jesus. I started crying. Guys, I'm terribly afraid of heights. And there was nothing. Off this side of those roads, it was sheer cliff. There was
It wasn't sheer cliff if you looked up at it, it was angled. But from the top, in a high sitting vehicle like ours, it looked like you were looking straight down. You couldn't see that angle. And there's no guardrail.
at all. If there had been a guardrail, I think I could have been okay.
Maybe. But there's no guardrail, and it looks like a sheer cliff from the top. It does not from the
Honey.
bottom. But you're looking down at clouds.
I promise you could have fell off that. If somebody had a wish to go on, then you could have jumped off those.
No, that wouldn't hurt you. It was an angle.
Oh, Lord. Ooh, it was terrifying. I'm just telling you.
But $15 each to go 5/6 of the way.
5/6 of the way. Okay, let me read these comments. My South Georgia Marine runner husband didn't make it either. Speaking of running, we did see people running to the top of Pikes Peak, which was unbelievable because the air was so thin, even just 5/6 of the way to the top.
You could tell.
I mean, we got sick, and not
No,
because we were afraid of the
we had the
heights.
altitude sickness the night before.
Yeah, we did start getting the altitude sickness the night before.
And then we went up even higher.
You're in Denver at 5280 feet. You've been to Pikes Peak and Evans. It is not like the mountains in Wise. It's not like the mountains anywhere in the east. We have trees. So the Appalachians are a rainforest. We are a temperate, deciduous rainforest. You cannot go 1 mile without just having so many trees that if you slid off the road, the trees would catch you.
Not up there.
But over in the
They talk about
the Rockies.
elevation. They ain't kidding out there.
Mm-hmm. Heather and Steve said hi. The Rockies were magnificent.
Beautiful. I love Colorado.
Durango was beautiful. We took a train and went somewhere.
Silverton, Durango.
Silverton. That's
up to
what we went.
Silverton.
And that was absolutely.
That was on the side of a cliff. We didn't know
Oh,
it.
Lord, if you've ever been to Durango and you
Durango
didn't,
little town is very nice.
and you didn't ride the train to Silverton, you have missed an experience. That train hangs off the side of a mountain.
And you don't know it if you're riding on the,
Lord.
say, driver's side, if you orient it towards the car. You don't know it going up. But we was like, what are the people on the right side standing up looking at? Must be an animal. And then we were on the other side coming back, and you could look straight down for at least 1,000 feet.
It was unbelievable, straight into that ravine.
Straight down.
And there was a river at the bottom. Once we get to we're not quite at a rolling bowl, but once we get to a rolling bowl, that's when we're going to start a timer, guys. You're
So
at 1280. Yeah, so for you, I believe it would be 5 minutes, but you need to look into that. Make sure. So here we do 10. Been to Colorado many times. Husband and family live there and have been across the Continental Divide many times. Yeah, we have a Continental Divide here, don't we? At Asheville.
Mm-hmm.
You live in Colorado and you don't even want to do that drive, Meg.
And the mountain behind us here, between us and Kentucky, one side drains into the Mississippi, one side goes to Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah.
Just over the mountain right here. It depends on if the rain hits
At
that
the-
side of the mountain or this side of the mountain.
Is that because it goes into the Big Sandy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where we live, guys, we have Break Center State Park, and that is also known as the Grand Canyon of the East. It is magnificent as well. We're almost there to the Rolling Bowl. It is magnificent as well. And if you come to this area, you should definitely go there. Now, some people say you have to put a lid on the top of it. I'm not going to put a lid on the top of it. You don't have to. As long as you get it up to that rolling bowl, once it achieves that full rolling bowl, 10 minutes.
So not yet.
Not quite yet. Summer said she gets sick getting up Wise Mountain now. Poor Summer. Bless your heart. I don't know how you get down from where you live, girl. I believe I'd be stuck there if I had a balance problem. We're Water Bath Canada and Strawberry Jam, somebody just asked. You're bringing your kids back home and taking them to breaks in a few weeks. Take them to Summer. That ain't McAfee Knob. What's that called? Oh, the Birch Knob Tower. Take them over to Birch Knob, too.
Yeah, especially if they need to burn some energy.
Yes, if you need to burn energy, it's like 10,000 steps. And when I say steps, I'm talking about steps as in a staircase. And they're metal, climbing a ladder steps steep. Somebody asked if 10 minutes is the minimum. Yeah, go ahead and do 10 minutes.
You still have strawberries and sugar over there.
I know. I gotta make another batch. But we're gonna do this one with them. All right, we're almost where we're going. All right, start timing it, sir. I see the big bubbles. Yep. Okay. So yeah,
Did they say
Pikes.
what kind they were making? Somebody a while back said they were making jam too.
She didn't answer me that I saw. Go to Birch Knob to the observation tower. I've got some pictures. I'll post them later.
You see like 32 states.
You can 32 states. You can see. Summer, how many states can you see from Birch Knob? It's like 5 or 6, isn't it? And also, if you're down this way or up this way, depending on where you live, or over this way, the Pinnacle down at the Cumberland Gap.
What happened last time we were there? Only time.
Listen,
This is starting to be a theme now, and I realize it.
I'm terrified of heights. I live in the mountains, but I'm terrified of heights.
That wasn't even high. Lee County is
In my
supposed to be
mind, it
flat.
was high.
It was an overlook, concrete, giant, nice overlook.
In my mind, it was really high. I cried all the way to the top of the Pinnacle as well, guys.
And then yelled that I was going to
fall off the edge.
with your kids. Those are my babies. I think you're on the ground on your hands and knees at that point.
I don't think you understand just how afraid of heights I am.
You're not now. You've come past that.
I have come a little past that. Pikes Peak wore me down just a
Oh,
little.
well, that one's different.
What do we boil at temperature-wise? Where's that thing at? Hold on, I'll tell you.
That thing.
This right here, honey. Hold on. I will tell you precisely what we boil at. Give me just 1 second. I'm using a thermometer, and it's catching up to it. It's slowing down, but we're at 2. We're at 210. So it's boiling like this at 210. So that's the temperature we're boiling at. If you want to do half pints, can you half the recipe? Yeah, you can. Or you can make a bunch of half pints. And then you'll have to have more than one water bath canner going. Any more surprise trips planned?
Ohio's not a surprise, is it?
Ohio's not a surprise.
I don't think there's anything we can announce publicly.
Yeah, nothing we can announce publicly just at this moment, but I'm sure we will be going south and north. going both directions. We're going to take a family trip to the south, and then we will be back to the north at some point this summer.
Like in Ohio.
Besides Ohio.
Oh.
Besides Ohio, we will be back to the north again. But yes, you can split it if you want to do half pints. And if you do a half a batch, in half pints it would make, I think, 6 or 8 half pints. Can you use cans that have previously been frozen? I heard no. Let me pull the chair real quick.
The jars?
Yeah, you can if it's a jar that's designed for home canning. So let's talk about that while we watch this bowl and wait for our timer to run out. A lot of the jars that you purchase in the store with food already in them, say you buy jelly. Jelly that's made in factories is not canned the same way we're canning at home, and it's not canned at those high temperatures because they have special equipment that doesn't require it to be so hot, and it's done in a sterile setting and has a lot of preservatives added to it. And so those jars that you get that way are not necessarily for home canning. Do you get lucky sometimes and they work fine? Absolutely. I've canned in a Smucker's jar before. But it's not a guarantee the way it is if you're using jars that are designed for home canning.
But yeah, jars that are designed for it. These
Yeah.
have probably been in the freezer with freezer
Oh, gosh,
jam.
for sure.
They've been in this. As long as it's not a shock, it's not the same
Yeah,
day.
so you're not going to take it out of the freezer and put it straight into the
But
canner.
if it's
Or
made for
put-
this, it can
Yeah,
handle the swing.
Absolutely, it can. And like I said, these jars are older than me. For sure they're older than I am.
And that's saying something.
I'm 40. And probably some of them are older than you, and you're very old. How old are you again? 65? 70?
Too old to be hanging out here.
He's 55. So, yeah, if these had been in the freezer, we would take them out of the freezer, use whatever was in them, wash them in hot water, run them through the dishwasher, put them into the canner at the bowl to sterilize them, or in the oven to sterilize them. And then we would ladle the hot jam in and it would do just fine. So that's the answer to your questions on that. Okay, did someone already ask why the lid isn't on? Can you time the bowl with or without the lid on? I'm timing it without the lid on. The water is way more than an inch over the top of these. If you want to put the lid on, absolutely, by all means do it. I didn't want to do that to you guys because then you'd just be looking at a lid. That's the reason the lid's not on. When you do it at home, absolutely put the lid on it. How long will this last? Does it have an expiration date?
It's two different questions.
How long will it last? 10 jars of jelly? A couple months.
Yeah, last, yeah. I think they meant.
That's how long it'll last. But an expiration date, if you ask me, I'm still eating things that are, I canned in 2017, 2015, and it's 2023.
Don't have a lot of jelly and jams that old.
Because they get eaten. But the government says it's 18 months, so that's what I'm telling you. But I would absolutely never open a jar and dump it after 18 months.
We're from the government. We're going to tell you how to do something and charge you for it.
Right? We're from the government and we're here to help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When we started making men have to have a license to fish, we should have said no right there.
Oh, Lord have mercy. You can't ask us questions that involve the government, guys. Yes, we also pressure can. So, okay, let's talk about that too. We have a membership on our website. It's $15 a month. If you use code AHSAVE5, I think is the code. I'll have to look and make sure that's it. You can get it at $10 a month. Now, included with that, you get every month a 30-page magazine. You get insider stories, which I have been slipping on because my sister-in-law has cancer. My dad has had surgery twice. He had a brain surgery and then he had back surgery in the last couple months. So insider stories I've been kind of laying down on the job on. It also includes our canning course. Now we're going to do a free pressure canning workshop, but with the canning course that's included with Compound Club membership, you get our whole canning course, not just a workshop. Heather said this is the most official canning you will ever see from this kitchen.
Yep.
Heather knows. So yes, and we're going to teach a pressure canning workshop too. And for that one, we may make Heather and Steve come out and help us break beans. I think it's AHSAVE5. Let me grab my laptop and see if I can get situated. That's already gelled. Oh, let me show that. I can't show that. I'll get burned. All right, hold on. Let me get over here and go into the back side of our website.
Okay, it's been 10 minutes.
Has it been 10 minutes? Okay, we're going to turn the water bath off. And then he has a towel he is going to use when he grabs it. You can see he's using the green side of the thing. And you got a towel set over here. Remember, whether you're sitting it on wood, whether you're sitting it on granite, whether you're sitting it on your kitchen table or whatever, Formica countertops, whatever's in your house, a towel must be put down. Never sit a hot jar on anything other than a towel. Or you could use, I guess, a cutting board if it's not too cold. But a towel is a sure way to make sure that you ain't going to have broken jars. Let me get in here.
And they are hot. They are definitely sterile.
Yeah. They say that water bath in it will make sure that you don't accidentally get botulism. And again, guys, botulism is extremely rare. It's born in the soil. It is not common. If it were, you would hear of more people dying of botulism more often. and you don't. And if you look at the statistics on it, it's just almost so rare that it's unheard of. And I promise that that is not necessarily because everybody follows the government rules, because most people don't. But you should. You should absolutely. I'm trying to get this, that isn't even what I needed. I need my coupon codes. Okay, coupons. Coupons. Okay.
Got 9 pints and that small one.
You got 9 pounds in a jelly jar out of that 10 cups of crushed strawberries, 14 cups of sugar, half a cup of lemon, and 12 tablespoons of pectin. All right, I got my codes up here. Yes. So it is on an annual. Use code, this is all lowercase, AH save 50. On a monthly, all lowercase, AH save 5.
I'm gonna show 'em the color of that.
You're gonna show him the color of the jam? He's gonna bring one over and show you. And that's to get a Compound Club membership. That comes with magazine every month, insider stories, the canning, the pressure canning course, has herbal information every single month. Has a lot of things in it. Somebody who's a member can speak up and tell you what all's in it, but there's a lot of stuff in it. It includes a devotional at the end of every magazine. Always has exclusive recipes that we don't share anywhere else. So yeah, all right. And we're all done. Let me walk you over here. And I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna take you one at a time, guys. Here we go. So we've just set them on a towel, you see? Okay. Now let me walk. I guess this is Instagram that I'm walking over here. And there they are, just sit on a towel. This is how we'll leave them for the next 24 hours. They'll seal. And then we will take the rings off, wipe the jars, and put them on our shelves. Okay. That concludes today's workshop. Let me grab the questions out of the question box. Did I only prep with my mix and chop, or did I do anything else? I only prepped with my mix and chop.
But you did it about a good 15 minutes, if they missed that part.
Somebody said the nutritional value drops in 18 months.
Okay. It's okay. That's right. They're probably right.
I'm still eating it.
Okay. We'll just not touch that one with the 10-foot
But
pole.
they're probably right.
I don't think so.
The taste doesn't.
The ball jar lids are not set. They are not going to hold longer than 18 months. You'll be lucky if they hold 3. That's the real reason. We water bathed it for 10 minutes. Somebody asked about eggshells earlier. Okay, in the garden, eggshells do not break down fast enough to deliver the calcium that your plants need. So if you're experiencing blossom end rot, should you add eggshells? Absolutely. They're crunchy. They will eventually break down, but they're not going to be the quick delivery that you need. So you want to use something that is going to be a faster delivery. So you could use powdered milk mixed with water. You could use ends rot, Tums. You need a quick delivery calcium if you're having blossom end rot. So yeah, you can add them to your garden. It certainly won't hurt, but it isn't going to deliver a fast fix for calcium with eggshells. Okay, and do I still worry about my gauge when using a weight? I have never worried about my gauge when I use a weight, not even a little. All right, let me make sure that I get all the questions from YouTube really quickly, and then we're gonna sign off. What is it about Dixie Crystal Sugar that makes it better than other brands? I can't buy it here. Should I be looking for smaller crystal size or something else? It doesn't clump. It's pure cane sugar. It's the one that my grandmother, our mothers, our great grandmothers, everybody has used for as long as Dixie Crystals has been available, and they say that it is better. And if you live in the Appalachian Mountains, anything your mommy, your mama, or your great granny says, that is gospel truth. So that's why. I've never tried another sugar, so I can't speak to other sugars. Let me make sure I don't miss anything here. Summer said she loves the Compound Club. And Summer, you know, we love you too. Just joined a few days ago, and it's definitely worth it in the Compound Club. Sandy, make sure that you message me so that you get added to Insider Stories, please. On Instagram, if you could message me from your username so I can be sure that you get in there. And I have one more question submitted. Why do you take the rings off? You should never store your jars with the rings on. When you do, I mean, your house is always going to have fluctuations in temperature, and that if the rings are on, you can have a seal fail. But then if the temperature fluctuates even just a few degrees, it can create a false seal, and it won't necessarily give you botulism. Botulism has to be present in the mix when you begin the process. It's not going to just ex nihilo make itself. It has to be there to begin with. So to prevent botulism, you're going to wash your vegetables, you're going to wash your fruit, you're going to wash your hands, you're going to sterilize your jars, you're going to do all the steps of doing everything as cleanly as you possibly can, and then following all of the steps that you should. So when we pressure can something and we tell you the time, we mean to that amount of time and not 1 minute less, and to that amount of poundage and not 1 pound less. It must be kept at those temperatures for that amount of time, or you won't necessarily get botulism, but you will have ruined food. You could have other foodborne toxins involved that wouldn't necessarily kill you, but they might make you sick.
Or it just fail and not be any good.
Right, and it might just fail and not be any good. So when we get into the pressure canning, it's important that you do everything that we tell you step by step. Same for the water bath canning too. But you take the rings off so that you don't end up with a false seal. So that's why we store with no rings. I see I have another question submitted. Are you able to reuse rings? Absolutely, you can reuse the rings. The rings are until they're rusted. Once the rings are rusted, you won't want to reuse the rings at that point, because they're just not easy to use. For one thing, they get gummy and won't screw on right. But they're also, you just don't want to risk getting rust in your food. Do we reuse our lids? The government says that I cannot tell you that I reuse my Superb canning lids, but I can tell you for sure that I would never use a Ball canning lid 2 times. I would never use a Kerr canning lid 2 times. I would never use a Golden Harvest lid 2 times. I would never use a 4 jars canning lid. Well, to be honest with you, I wouldn't use any other one than Superb the first time, let alone 2. So that's the answer to that question. And I think that looks like we've got all the questions. So this will be saved, and you all can come back and watch it. And we hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can always send us a DM. We try to answer them all. If you want to find our website, it is appalachianhomestead.org. If you're on Instagram and you want to see any of the further canning workshops, then you're going to have to go to youtube.com/@ the Appalachian Homestead.
Hey, Jimmy, put it in low, Bobby.
All right, we'll catch you guys later.